Okay, we have another test video for game in development synSpace drone runners for Android, available in Google Play and for the Kindle Fire HD. This is running today on my 10-inch Kindle Fire HD tablet, and we are going to play with the Vocoder again, trying to record. This time we're making sure we're using no copyright music. This is a thing called Jazz Tape by Andrew Huang, and it's from the YouTube library of free music, of copyright unencumbered music. Let's start this music playing so that we have some actual data. Let's throw away that data. Let's go into music mode. Let's record. Okay, so you can't hear the music because I've got the volume turned down, but it sounds like this. What you're looking at here is the vocoder while it's recording. It's listening to the audible frequencies. It's specifically interested in the frequencies that map to musical notes, as indicated by this little keyboard here. Middle C is right in the middle there. I look at all the energy that's in the left-hand side of the spectrum versus the energy that's in the right-hand side of the spectrum. And if there's enough energy in one of the sides, then I'll split that side in half and do the same thing for its two half sides. And in that, I cut down, so I don't have to look at a lot of frequency space, because I used a broadband filter to decide, oh, there's no energy at all below the third octave, so I just don't look below the third octave for anything else. Okay, so this sort of is a triage that lets me know which frequencies to look at. Then this down here is what I finally decided was the energy I heard all over the place. It's just a spectrum. And then the colored notes are the energy peaks that hung around long enough and had a characteristic that I felt was like a musical note as opposed to just some sound. And then I color those, and if the sequencer is running, I send them off to the sequencer to be recorded, and then that gives me a musical encoding device where I can play my guitar or my recorder or something into the microphone and end up with not a MIDI file, but a playable electronic version of it. But anyway, so the same spectrums that you see here one at a time, this band here is like all the spectrums kind of viewed on edge, where the notes have been folded into a single octave. So if there was a C played anywhere, there's like 10 octaves. Oh, well, that's interesting. So we just experienced a power outage, which made my computer go away so that there's no longer any source music. But the camera is fine, as is the tablet, and I'm okay. We're all on battery power. Well, let's document this while we're at it. Okay, so anyways, let's stop the recording. And what that leaves us with is a blur up here, which is the whole thing that we recorded, which was, I don't know, it was 4,705 individual spectrums at 25 per second. So it was about 47 times 4, about 200 seconds, 180 seconds. Now, if I want to, I can tap anywhere in this blur here, and it sets a little insertion cursor that you probably can't see, and it changes to show me that spectrum. Now, if I unplug my magic cable here so that you can hear, this is now the reconstructed spectrum. Okay, so I tap on that one, and we see that during this spectrum we had these peaks, so I've added together sine waves of those peaks and am playing them, and they look like this little green signal down here. But again, if I just tap anywhere, I get a little snapshot in time of what spectrum was playing at that point in time. Ooh, that's loud. And if I just tap on this control, it'll just advance to the next one. I just added that, and it's not completely working yet. Oh, I had a power outage before I saved my file. Great. Well, we'll see what happens. Anyway, and now the phone's ringing because we have a landline. Well, I guess we'll just listen to it. Not much else we can do. Okay, so this was when I first started recording. It was 180 million. And it's all... Okay, I'm going to stop that. And I'm going to bring the spectrum in to skip that beginning part. Also so we can see what it looks like in more detail. That's what the raw samples look like. And if we listen to the raw samples... Whoa, listen how overdriven that is. So I had to turn my preamp way down, so that song is really loud. Now, there's a volume control on YouTube. I can turn the volume down, and that would affect this. And I think I'd better, because I was just way too overdriven. Okay, but that's what it sounds like in samples. If I have the same range and I listen to it as a spectral recording, this is just playing those spectrums back. And when I do that, I also push them through the rhythm rainbow again. And you can see the chord progressions, E, A, D, B. When you do some extra fingering in the middle of a chord, it tends to show up as sort of obscure secondary chords. But I think this is pretty good, probably. Those are probably pretty close. Pretty good solid signals there. Sounds almost like barbershop quartet. So this is just recovering individual sine waves. It doesn't have any idea of individual voices or instruments. So if I have my instrument has a lot of harmonics in it, it'll show up as a lot of different peaks of energy here. And my analyzer, my musical oscilloscope, tries to address that by detecting peaks which look like they are harmonics of lower frequency peaks, and actively tries to suppress them. Actually tries to steal the energy from the harmonic and give it to the fundamental, so that I don't see what sounds like a weak note, which was really a loud note, but it was just had its energy spread out over several of its harmonics. Here's this something relatively new. Here's it interpreted through my format playback. Here, instead of recreating a signal by adding together sine waves, I recreate the same signal by making a resonant cavity that resonates at those frequencies, the frequencies of the sine waves, and then I pass an excitation signal, just a sawtooth, through all those filters, and what comes out is what you end up hearing. So this is more of a speak and spelly kind of experience. And I think this works. Yeah. I can listen to individual format guys and step through them. Oh, but again, I haven't fixed that yet. Okay. Let's go out of music mode and let's just do some voice recordings. And I'll use my normal theatrical voice, which uses a lot of inflection, because that looks interesting on my format display, and my loudness is pretty good, and I'm still running at, I think, -6 dB. Okay, so this is my format display of actual voice data, and let's zoom in on that and play this. So, for those who haven't heard me say this 100,000 times already, the plan is to have speech in the context of the game, which is supposed to sound like alien speech over a radio that you're getting from other players who are, in context, aliens in other parts of the galaxy. So I want to carry the emotions. I say this over and over again, so sorry. I want to carry the emotions of the voice, but not the words of the voice, because I don't want a lot of profanity distracting from things. But I do want to carry communications. I kind of have this thought that you could have a game where it was just a very personal, intimate collection of people who can hear everything that every one of them are saying, but not make out what the actual content is. So you can bravely communicate without fear of confrontation. I don't know, something like that. Oh, okay. So this is the raw samples. So this is the highest quality recording I have to work with. I only have a minute of this kind of recording.
And I'll use my normal theatrical voice, which uses a lot of inflection, because that looks interesting on my format display.
Okay. That was like the whole thing, wasn't it? I should try and speak with more bass. I want to see more bass. So if you look at this area here, let's zoom in on it. It only looks better up to a certain zoom point, and then it starts looking worse. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can see that. So what's happening here, this little waving flag kind of thing, looking thing, over time, my voice, it generated one frequency down at the bottom, this bottom line here, one part of my voice, and that's probably the main excitation part of my voice, went over that period of time, which, let's zoom it up even more. So, boom, 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 boom. Okay, so just this part of the sound sounds like this.
And I'll use my normal.
Okay, so imagine if that had been a better recording in the first place. So now we listen to that as a spectral playback, which is just sine waves added together. You could almost make it out. So I don't want you to make it out, but I want you to almost make it out. I want it to be loud concert through thick wall. Well, that would just be low pass filter really, but kind of like that. So let's move it in format playback just to hear. Ultimately, this is my goal. This is the alien voice eventually.
I
think that's pretty promising. Anyway, so this bottom line is kind of following my excitation, my vocal cords, the buzz that's going on there. And then the line right above it is basically just the first harmonic of that. So if my buzz was down around 50 or 60 hertz, then the second line is around 100 and whatever hertz. You can actually, if you tap one of the keys on the, is that what it is? Yeah, if you tap on this little piano, you can hear the note. It selects that note, and it tells you what the frequency of that note is, 411 hertz. And it adds this little line here that you can just barely see as to where that is. So I could sort of explore to find where these lines were. So the second line up was around 185 hertz. The bottom line was around 107 hertz. So my F1 is basically this is something that I'm working out. It's not something that I just know. So I'm probably wrong, to use a technical term. But what I've come to appreciate about harmonics is that I've always just kind of thought in terms of, you can take any, let's say, periodic signal, and you can break it down, you can decompose it into a series of sine waves, a weighted sum of sine waves of different frequencies. And I'm pretty sure that that is true in the arbitrary sense that I could pick literally any combination of sine waves I felt like, and if I can adjust their phase and their weight, then I can smush them together to repeat at least a portion of a signal, to recreate a portion of a signal. And if it's a periodic signal, I can probably make a pretty good recreation of that periodic signal. But then it's become more and more clear that nobody ever adds together just arbitrary sine waves. Everybody adds together, everybody says there's a fundamental frequency to the space I'm looking at. The periodic signal is periodic, therefore it has a wavelength, therefore it has a frequency. And that is its fundamental frequency. And these other frequencies that I'm going to use to decompose it are literally just the harmonics of that frequency. The first harmonic is the same as the fundamental. The second harmonic is twice the fundamental frequency. The third harmonic is 3 times the fundamental frequency. The 27th harmonic is 27 times the fundamental frequency. So if the fundamental frequency is 440, then the third harmonic is 3 times 440 hertz, which is 1210, 1220, 1320. So that's great. So when you look at reality, though, I mean, so here I am, I'm breaking down just what I hear. I don't have a bias that says, oh, I'm listening for 3 times the frequency or 2 times the frequency or anything like that. I got 128 filters here. I'm listening to a whole bunch of different frequencies. But these are the ones that are present. And the ones that are present are, go figure, exact harmonic multiples. And I think you could argue that because while the part of me that's hurting inside says, no, it should be broad spectrum, it should be white noise, it should, you know, I'm making this buzz, I'm sitting on a sign. Well, I don't want to pursue it from that perspective because, as you all know, a sawtooth is just the sum of all of the harmonics weighted 1 over n. Hey, power's coming back on. I bet it will come back on and then slam back off, and then all the computers will get headaches. Anyway, so that's how long the power was out. So the point is that these little lines here basically are just harmonics of my excitation. You know, the part that I made, the harmonic, the vocal cord, I made that noise. That's pretty much this lowest line, and all the other ones are just first, second, third, fourth, well, second, third, fourth, fifth harmonics. And then what happens is, while I'm talking, in addition to modulating my vocal cords and creating this, you know, relatively low pitch signal that has lots of harmonics, I'm also modulating the shape of my tongue and mouth and all that good stuff, which affects the resonant cavity that sawtooth has to make its way through before it comes out my mouth or nose or wherever, and you actually can hear it. And so what we see here at the top basically is that the higher harmonics, higher frequencies, are being passed through a lot at the beginning here, and then the highest ones are suppressed for a while here, and then they're allowed back, and they're suppressed, and they're allowed back, and they're suppressed. So I'm moving my mouth around, and that is causing my filtering characteristics to change. So I'm filtering out these higher frequencies. Now the lower frequencies also tend to come and go a little bit, but that could actually be measurement error. But not to be, you know, I spend a lot of time worrying about frequency, but there's a very important amplitude component here, and your vocal excitation stream is, you know, it's itself pretty dynamic, and then you're doing a lot of pinching off of passageways that allow more and less air to pass through. And then, of course, this is the what you would call, I guess, the voiced component of speech. And then there's all the unvoiced, the white noise, and whistly kind of things that you get out of all those extra little sounds, which I'm kind of ignoring and throwing away at the moment. I'm not completely throwing it away, but I'm trying to get the frequency stuff to be perfect first. E, O, okay, as you can see, I'm a professional speak and speller. So anyway, so that's what that looks like, and see all these little curly bits at the front. So apparently at the beginning of this one, I started at a higher pitch and came down right away, and then held it. And again, what you're seeing me hold is basically the lowest line here is that sawtooth excitation signal fundamental frequency from my vocal cords, and then all the other little stripes are just the second, third, 15 harmonics. And when I held a particular vowel, you can see that this vowel went through a lot more filtering of the high frequencies and also some of the low frequencies like this, and then everything, or second harmonic rather, and then everything else is just filtered out. I guess the third harmonic you can see just a little tiny bit. It's a little brighter signals are louder, so there's a weaker, like all the signals are present. If I turn the gain up on my display, you'd see all of these lines in every one of these. They're just highly attenuated. Okay, let's go to minus 9 dB, the most I can suppress it, and let's not shout quite so much, but let's try to be clear. And there the E was much higher pitch, so E. So here you can see my bass frequency went up. The fundamental frequency for my E was 150, whereas the fundamental frequency for my Ah was only 113. Okay, we listen to that. Okay, so now let's listen as a spectrum. Okay, that's not bad. Let's listen to it as a format, and I don't know where the volume needs to be. Okay, that's almost working. Goal would be for you to get recognizable vowel sounds when played through the format player. Let's just do some more random stuff. Hello, 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 hello. Oh. can see my fundamental and some harmonics. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, ooh, I can make a perfect sine wave. Ooh. Ah. I think that tops me out. Oh, I need a drink. Okay, so if we just tap in the middle of these lines here, we get a kind of a recreation of the signal at that point. So we can sort of explore, like up here when I was just kind of singing. So that's the same word, spoken in funny ways, lots of different times. So, a little more zoom in. What's similar about all these things? If you were trying to recognize the word hello in all of these different ways, what would you look at? Okay, I'll redo the recording. Okay, throw it away. So now I'm in the musical filter set, which is coarser, technically not as good for voice, better for music. But you'll see colored bars anytime I accidentally hit a legal musical note, which is actually kind of a nice vocal training tool. I am not a good singer, but I've gotten actually a little bit better just from seeing how what I was doing, what color it turns, you know. Oh, instrument. Oh yeah, a new chord window. I should. Little C major chord. Let's put ourselves into this key, B flat major. The one chord in B flat major is B flat. The two chord is C minor. My arpeggiation is set to strum, so this is me strumming the chord, which sounds a little more believable at a higher BPM. I can also pick just simple chording. Unfortunately, there's now so many different arpeggiation choices that it takes forever to cycle through them, so I have to have a better UI for it. But if I just hold the note now, everybody's favorite chord progression. Duration 0 means as long as I hold it down. So if I set the duration to 1, it means there's 1 arpeggiation per beat. So my beats are set to 200. Da, 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 da. So my arpeggiation is still set to just chord. So it just plays the same chord, just like that. If I change it to 2, then I'm going to slow this down. It's going to look, because I really can't go much fast. I can't even go that fast, really. So 3 makes it a triplet, so 3 per beat. Now, I think triplets kind of bring with them, I think, an implication that there will be an extra emphasis on the first of the 3, but I might be wrong about that. There's definitely some. I'm a very mechanical bomb, 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 and I think there's something I need to be doing there that's more of a bom 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 kind of, more musical than robotic. But anyway, so my final duration is 4, which is 4 arpeggio notes per beat. So that would kind of be 16th notes in 4/4 time. And if I try to do that at 200 beats per minute, it'll just sound like a hash. So I need that to work much better. But I don't have to go fast for now. So let's put this... Oh, this is cleaned up a little bit. You can now tap nicely just to set it exactly. You drag close to where you want to be, but then rather than trying to micro drag it, you just tap to go the final distance. And let's go to 2 for the duration. Okay, so let's hear an actual arpeggiation. Here is up. Let's speed it up. Oh, we're in B major still. That's cool. Let's go to B minor. It tells you what the 1 through 7 chords are for B minor. And who knew that it would actually take skill just to hold this key down the right length of time? So that's up, and then there's down. There's up, down. There's down, up. There's down and up. There's up and down. And then there's pinky up. Looks like Leyenda on the guitar. And we can actually see these if we record a track. Okay, if you can remember what we did there. Come here to this view, kind of zoom in on it, and I think this is about probably where we changed from triplets to 2. So it goes, yeah. So this is thumb. So the bottom is. It goes back and forth to the bottom all the time. So this is basically root, third, fifth, and octave. So root, third, root, fifth, root, octave, root, third, root, fifth, root, octave, root, third, root, fifth, root, octave. And then this one was root, root, fifth, root, octave, root, third, root, fifth, root, octave, root. But you can see they're not perfectly timed. You know, ideally you would like each of these notes to be exactly the same length. And this isn't even a vocoder thing for that. What actually happens is the code that figures out the timing is based on real time, and when you emit a note, it has to be snapped to a grid of time that is whatever, you know, at the time you started the recording you had your beat per minute set to something, and that's what these individual little time slices are based on. And when a note comes in from the keyboard, it starts at a real moment in time, but the moment in time I record is snapped to the clearest grid point, the nearest grid point. So, but that's something to be improved upon. And this is now wonderful test data because it doesn't depend on anything subtle. This is just a computer saying, I'm going to make notes of exactly this many milliseconds, and failing. So I didn't really talk about this, but clearly it's a chording keyboard, and what I don't have yet is a button to turn it on and off. So I'm thinking that's probably here somewhere, but not sure. Again, you know, I want fewer buttons, not more. I know I say that, and then I may add more buttons. Okay, the end. Bye.